All right, everybody, we have Tyresha Norton here, and she works for the Public Affairs Office at the church, and we're so excited to have you here. Thanks so much for taking your time out of your day to help us and everything. We wanted to ask you a couple questions. So how did participating in PRSSA help prepare you for your current job?
I think you should probably rephrase that and say, how did it not help? Because it was amazing. Like, seriously, everything we learn in PRSSA, I apply to my job. And this is like a plug for FARA, but I use the matrix. We talk about strategies and tactics all the time in my job, which I didn't think I would. And just really focusing on your writing skills. PR writing is huge, and that's what I use every single day.
It's awesome. So what things did you learn here at UVU that have been most beneficial?
Definitely how to properly write, like press releases, and just write in the inverted pyramid style, because everything, my bosses will tell me, okay, I need this, but give it to me quick and as concise as you can. And that's just, I know how to do it, just who, what, where, when, why, here you go. And they take it and run with it, because it's a fast paced environment. So if they need it now. And so writing like that definitely helps.
Awesome. So I read your interview story, so I know about it and, your whole process with that. Could you kind of tell us about that?
Oh, it was fun. So I applied online, and I found it on Indeed.com, the job, and I applied and then totally forgot that I had applied. Then about a month later, they emailed me and they said, hey, we want to do a phone interview with you. So I was like, okay. So I did the phone interview, but before that, and this was like the key, was I did a ton of research on public affairs and especially on the church. And so I knew the company, I knew the background and, the corporation aspect of the church. And so I did the phone interview, and on the phone, he said, okay, well, we'd love to meet you. So come on in. And I was like, okay. So he emailed me, we set up a time for an in-office interview. And so I was expecting to just meet the person that I interviewed with. And I walk into the office and there's 5 people. And I'm like, oh, oops. But it was great. I mean, we sat down. It was just a comfortable interview. They got to know me. I got to know them. And they were like, tell us why you're good for this job, those kinds of questions. And it was just a really comfortable interview. And then after that, that was when it was really like boom, boom, boom. I left the interview. They emailed me that night and they said, do this exercise. You have 90 minutes to do it. Please give it back to us in 24 hours. So I read the exercise, gave myself an hour to think about it, and then 30 minutes to type it all up. Sent it over to them, and then the next day they called me and they said, okay, can we get 3 references for you? And so I gave them the 3 references. Then they called me the next day and they were like, you're it. So it was a quick process after waiting a month.
Yeah. So do you think that, anything set you apart from those other candidates?
Absolutely. So I actually asked my boss that, and he said that I wasn't a front runner for the job, and I was one of 87 applicants, and so I kind of just went under the radar for him. But the thing was, my resume stood out because I had a little banner on the side of my resume that's red. So he's like, we saw the red, we caught the red. And then we started looking at my resume, and I had a website, which is to my blog, which is where you saw the interview story. And on my blog, the first post was a video from New York when I went with PRSSA. And so he watched the video, and he said that was what kind of made them think twice about me. And so it was my website that really pulled them in for me.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So we met Ryan Koch back in New York, who works for the church as well. Do you think that, meeting with him had any, difference or anything in how you approach things?
Absolutely. I talk to Ryan about every week. And I actually told him, I was like, you don't remember me, but I remember meeting you, and you were a really big influencer in me even applying for the job. And so just talking to him, hearing his story, what he does every day, and kind of how his workload is, that was what made me comfortable and really want to apply for this position. And so once I did that, now it's funny that I talked to him on the phone and I'm just like, oh yeah, remember when we were in New York? He's like, yeah, actually I do remember. So yeah, he was definitely a big help.
That's awesome. So what advice would you give to students in school right now?
Learn how to write. I mean, I can't even emphasize that enough. Learn punctuation and grammar and spelling. I mean, yeah, computers have spell check, but you kind of, they're not humans. They make mistakes too, just like humans do. So you kind of have to work with yourself, working with a computer, and learn how to write properly. So, and that's something that you can't, in the world right now, that's how everything's going. Real good writers are you just can't find them.
So what do you see in your future?
Oh, I don't know. I haven't really thought about it because I'm still just so overwhelmed with my position. But in the future, I hope to kind of be doing some more work with the church, some more in-depth stuff with public affairs, kind of traveling and all that, because the area that I work within public affairs, they work around the globe. So I really want to be able to travel around the globe and go see the other offices.
Awesome. So what's a typical day for you?
Oh, every day's different, that is for sure. But I definitely am always glued to either my phone or my computer because of emails. And then, it just kind of depends on what needs to be done. Some days we'll be having big news in the newsroom, and so we'll be helping them. Other days I'll be planning events. I just got done with 3 events this past couple of weeks. So, that's really been consuming me now. Some days it's shipping, mailing stuff and shipping it and, packing up boxes and things like that. So it's very diverse.
Awesome. And our last question is, what has been the biggest challenge in your transition from, school to, the professional world?
Professional. Number one is actually having to dress professionally every day. But no, really the biggest thing, probably the fact that you're not being graded on your work. So it's like, oh, I can do 50% on this assignment and do 100% on this assignment and still get a good grade in the class. It's like, no, you have to give your all on every single thing that you do, or else you're done. You're out. So there's not really leeway. It's like, do your best or you're out.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking your time to speak with us. I think that, everybody out there that's going to watch this, is going to enjoy this. So thank you so much.
Of course.